Thank you very much. I'm here to introduce Fabrice Grinda. And during the cocktail hour, I had the pleasure of talking to him for a minute, and I pointed out that he's in black tie, he's in this fantastic venue, his friends are here, many of them, his family, his parents' friends, and he said to me, "This is almost like the wedding I haven't yet had." And then I pointed out to him, "You get to consummate a wedding, but tonight you're just going to have to get lucky." I met Fabrice almost 20 years ago. He had the office next door to me, and I regularly had to bang on the wall of the office to ask him to quiet down, because he was constantly getting into some heated argument with his office mate, never about work, but always about some geopolitical issue or something or other. And his office mate, by the way, went on to become a member of the Israeli Knesset, and Fabrice became one of her most critical political backers. And the lesson in there for me is that the deep, passionate debate seeded a very long friendship, and this is really how Fabrice is at his core. He's vitally engaged, but ultimately deeply loyal to those he respects and cares about. Over the years, I've known Fabrice as a colleague, as an entrepreneur. In fact, I invested in his company, or one of them, quite profitably. Thank you for that, Fabrice. And also as a friend. So I know about many of the facets of who Fabrice is. First, in the business world, Fabrice made a fortune identifying clever internet business models and effectively exporting them from one country to another. His first startup was essentially a copy of eBay, a business in France called Auckland. One of his later startups was a business called OLX, essentially a copy of Craigslist, tweaked and exported to places like Brazil and India. So as a business person, he's an emulator, a copier, an adapter, but as a human being, he's truly unique. So I thought many of you might know a lot about Fabrice, but I'm pretty sure very few of you know all of what I'm about to tell you. I came up with my 5 favorite things about Fabrice that you need to know to really understand who the man is. First, he earned the highest grade point average of anyone in his graduating class at Princeton, a pretty impressive accomplishment. Second, he spent a summer living in China as a student, and he learned in a summer to speak Mandarin. I think Mandarin is a difficult first language to master. For Fabrice, it's his 3rd or his 4th. And interestingly, while in China for the summer, he lost 25 pounds. I think he was a skinny teenager to begin with. And so he's proved definitively that French food is much better than Chinese food. Third on my list is that Fabrice actually got kicked out of a very fancy Long Island mansion he rented because he was hosting paintball tournaments in the backyard, and the town actually passed an ordinance prohibiting paintball in the town. Fourth, there was a 100-day period several years ago where Fabrice actually asked out 1,000 women on dates. 955 of them rejected him. He'll tell you more about that later. Finally, today, Fabrice employs hundreds of people and funds schools in a poor town in the Dominican Republic, which has sort of become his second home. Finally, in his own words, Fabrice decides to spend so much time here in New York City because of its artistic and intellectual diversity, supported by great organizations like FIAF. He's tireless, he's an innovator, and he's also a good friend. Please join me in congratulating and welcoming Fabrice Grinda.
So thank you all for the kind words and actually for the award. And I'm very grateful that my parents, some of my dearest friends, are in the room tonight. It's actually funny when I read like the description of my achievements in the interviews. It's hard to remember that this is not really how it started and how I came from. And really, I'm grateful for my friends for actually have put up with me and bared with me for all these years. Because when I look back, 12 years ago, I was basically bankrupt. I had invested every last penny I had in my last company, or 2 companies ago, Zingy. The business model was floundering. The company was really failing. And I missed payroll 27 times. I couldn't pay my employees for 4 months in a row. Something actually rather funny happens when you stop paying people. They stop showing up for work. So I had to go back, start coding again, started living in the office, living off ramen noodles and fresh water. People think it's an urban legend that entrepreneurs live off of ramen noodles, but they're really cheap. And you can actually really bring your cost structure to like 50 cents a day, even though you live in the city, if all you eat is ramen noodles and drink water. And so through persistence and iteration and frankly good fortune, we managed to grab victory from the jaws of defeat. And that company finally turned a profit. And we went from 1 million in sales to 200 million in sales in 4 years. Now, it's probably telling that after this success, I went on and embarked on a new journey, a company called OLX. And when I did that, I had absolutely no idea that there was this company that existed called Schibsted, which was a multi-billion-dollar company that actually was going to be our biggest competitor. In fact, we had no idea how we were even going to build this company that we had decided to build with my partner, Alec. And I guess it shows that sometimes ignorance is truly bliss. If you don't know that something is impossible, you might actually just go ahead and do it. And that's why I'm really grateful for Jeremy for actually believing that we would figure it out. I guess this talks about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. Basically putting yourself out there, facing failure again and again, and basically learning from every single failure until you figure something out. And as Jeremy said, it's something that I've tried to apply to all aspects of my life. 14 years ago, I was still this Sheldon Cooper-y, very socially awkward, very introverted, very, afraid of social interactions, afraid of public speaking, afraid of asking girls out. And I needed to face that fear of rejection. And so as Jeremy said, for a 100-day span, I went out and asked 10 girls a day out randomly in the streets of New York. And you can imagine, I had my huge nerdy glasses, my tweed pants, shaking in my pants. I was like, would you please go, running away in the other direction before I'd finish the sentence. But something really funny happens after you're rejected 955 times. The first thing is you realize you survive. And once you survive, it wasn't such a big deal. I didn't even know what the fuss was about. The 956 rejection didn't really hurt all that much after all. And once you lose that fear, you open yourself up to these amazing adventures. And I think this, what's amazing about being an entrepreneur, once you stop fearing that you're going to fail, you end up succeeding. Now, if you take a step back, the achievements of individual entrepreneurs, as amazing as they may seem mundane, but I think what's extraordinary is when you take the sum total of the achievements of all entrepreneurs, it actually ends up changing our lives very, very profoundly. If you look at the last 100 years, mostly through technology-led improvements, life expectancy has doubled. GDP per capita has tripled. Infant mortality is divided by 10. And the world we live in today is seeing even some much greater improvements, most of which are led by technology. And so we should be extraordinarily grateful to be living in this amazing world. And as entrepreneurs and as investors, we're truly privileged to be helping bring about this better world of tomorrow, a world of equality of opportunity and of plenty. And there's something rather magical about creating something out of nothing, about seeing that idea come to light, delighting your first customers, about solving that problem that you'd identified. There are ups and downs, but there's almost nothing that matches this creative, quasi-artistic, magic of creating something out of nothing. And so, I'm convinced that if you work hard enough, you can basically solve any problem that you want. And so I invite you all actually to take a leap of faith and try to join me in this wonderful journey and adventure of entrepreneurship. Let's change the world together, better, faster. Thank you again.